Do you see my ankles here?
Oh, gross.
I'm sure.
There's piss on there.
That's disgusting. What's the most you've ever tipped ever in your life? Oh,
Why?
I love it. If you don't do this, or you don't do it enough, the people in that restaurant will give you dirty, dirty, evil looks.
In some countries, it's actually rude to do it.
Oh, yeah, that too.
What are we talking about?
Which countries can't you do it?
Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually really rude.
What are we talking about? Tips.
Tipping.
Do you tip when you get a taxi?
They round up for you automatically though. I remember when I was in a taxi back in my uni days and they rounded up my $46 to $50 automatically. And I was waiting for change. And they were like, I was like, oh, okay, do you round it up? And then I found out that it's actually normal to do that. A lot of my friends told me that.
In Hong Kong?
Yeah, they round it up.
No. Round up $4?
Yeah.
$4?
Well, maybe they knew I was foreign.
Maybe you went through a $4 tunnel. Usually if it's like 50 cents or whatever, it's, you take for granted. If you're really tight, you can ask for the 50 cents back. But $4 is a lot of money. Well, not a lot of money, but
It's an extra mini
for
bus ride.
Hong Kong standards is a lot of money. It's not particularly common to tip taxi drivers or even canteens and diners and sometimes restaurants too, which for me, when I first came back when I was many years ago, I thought it was a bit weird. I was getting a taxi with my friends and I paid like $30 and the remaining $4, I thought, it's okay. It's okay. And then all my friends, Hong Kong friends, were like, what are you doing? Why don't you want the $4? It's common to tip in England.
Really?
So,
Taxi drivers in England?
taxi drivers, restaurants, people in the service industry. So tipping for me, when I came back to Hong Kong, even now, it's
Something you like to
habit,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, you like to tip, I know.
tipping for me is a way of saying thank you. And I think it's like that in many countries, bar Japan.
In Australia, people like to tip, but just a small gratitude is enough. So you could go for $30, $40 meal, Aussie dollars, and you don't have to tip $10.
It depends on how good the service was. So if you went to a nice restaurant and the people were rude to you and the food wasn't particularly good, it wasn't fresh, then obviously you wouldn't want to tip and maybe you'd make a complaint. But if it was great food, the waiter and waitresses were great, how much would you tip?
10 to 15%.
Dad used to run a restaurant and I used to work with him in the restaurant, and he used to say if the food is good, service is great, then for his standard was 20%.
Yeah, because he works in hospitality, so he really appreciates it because it's a lot of hard work.
When you're out for dinner, you have to spend a little money, and to save on the tips for the staff, I think is a bit stingy.
To be fair, if you work in hospitality in Australia, your minimum wage is quite high. Because I used to work in hospitality, I know, you get paid pretty well. In the States, if you work in hospitality, you really get paid the minimal. So they really rely on the tips. So that I appreciate, and when I was in New York, I was tipping 15-20% if I really had a good meal. And there was a situation where I just tipped 10% and the lady gave me the dirtiest look, the passive aggressive. Excuse me, was there something wrong with the food? No, there was something wrong with the service. That's how I kind of weigh it out as well. So in Australia, most waitresses and waiters, to be fair, are paid quite a fair amount. So I tip, but not as much as when I'm in the States, because I know they're paid not much.
In Hong Kong, how much would you tip?
Well, in Hong Kong, a lot of the bills have a 10% service charge already. If they charge that, I probably tip an extra, maybe 5%.
What's the most you've ever tipped ever in your life?
Our honeymoon in the Maldives, our butler, I think we tipped her $500 US.
3,000 Hong Kong dollars?
That was quite a lot.
Yeah, she looked after us for the whole week though.
Yeah, we just had such a good time. We're like, yeah, we're happy to tip. Yeah, I think we're blown away by the Maldives and the great hotel, and the service was amazing. It was our first time there. It was our honeymoon. And we're like, oh, she's wonderful. We tipped her actually, was it 300 or 500? But that's still a lot. Even 300's a lot. I forgot. You said a certain amount, and my first impression was, are you serious?
Add a zero to that. It's not enough.
Yeah, but
if you don't do it immediately, In some countries, it's a bit rude. In Hong Kong, we do it in the privacy of our own bedrooms.
Bedroom, home.
Probably at
Make
home.
it sound a bit dodgy. It's not that dodgy.
At home, tucked away.
Yeah, I actually like to see their reaction. I want
Just tell them what it is.
Yeah, I want them to do it in front of me.
It's a bit kinky.
It's opening presents! Yay!
Yeah. I remember in England, friends would say you should open the presents in front of the person who gave it to you. So that's how I grew up receiving presents and giving presents. Just open it, you see the reaction straight away, everyone's really happy, the giving the present's happy, the person receiving it's happy. Yeah, it all happens
There.
at that moment.
And you get to enjoy that moment together.
But in Chinese culture, I think, it's very different. So you give the present, you say your thank yous, and then you go home with the present. And then the person giving the present
We'll
is
never know.
waiting. So
Never know. So do you like it? It's always a yes, I love it. But like at home, they might be opening a present going like that. It's more reserved. And
Really
like
think about-
kids actually taught not to open presents in front of people. It's rude. Most parents will be like, just open it when you get home.
to open the present there and then, it's impatient.
Yeah. And a bit like greedy, like I want to open the present type of thing. Who
Yeah.
doesn't like presents? I mean, why can't you just enjoy the moment? Just open it up. These days, when people give me a present, maybe because I've been in Hong Kong for quite some time now, I actually ask them, would you mind if I open the present?
But if you ask, would you mind, then they'll say no.
Well, because I want to open it.
Oh, I'm so spoiled, I'm gonna open it now, do you mind?
Well, that's how I grew up. Like I always opened
You
it
need to
in front
explain,
of that person.
I grew up in Australia. We open them right here now. Is that okay? But if you ask them, it's gonna be okay all the time.
And I always tell my friends, like, I give them a present and then they
Please, open it.
Yeah, I'm like, open it. And they're
No.
like looking around,
No.
like just the other day, even with my best friend, I gave her a present and then I had two other friends there. Obviously, it's her birthday, so she gets the present, right? I gave it to her and I was like, open it. She's like, I'll wait till I get home. I'm like, seriously, just open it. It's not like they're gonna mind.
But maybe she was worried that your present might outshine those other two presents. That's why. If there's more than one present, there's maybe a chance of embarrassment because of the discrepancy in...
Obviously, I agree with you, but I'm not the type of person to care about stuff like that.
I'd save your present right for the end because yours is always going to be the best.
Not necessarily. I've given you presents where you opened it because he's my husband. He just looked at me and goes, why would you buy that?
What were we? What were we talking about? Sorry, I forgot.
So I have a friend, she's Chinese. Her boyfriend is from Australia, Aussie boy. And when they lived together, she told me one thing that she could not put up with. And it was the fact that he doesn't shower before he sleeps. So after his long day, he doesn't shower. He goes straight to bed and then he wakes up the next morning and showers in the morning only.
He must really smell in the morning. To have gone through the day, average sweatiness, and then Australia's pretty dry, which is pretty good for not being overly sweaty. So go home and then the stuff from the cooking, and then the oils and the juices, and then to sleep through the night, and then to wake up like it must smell so bad.
That's why he must shower in the morning before he goes to work. Otherwise, it's so too bad for the people at work.
This rule can't apply to people who work in a restaurant or in a kitchen because it smells like crazy.
It's more of like a personal habit, right? If you're used to that smell, you won't find your smell crazy.
Even if you have a chef's hat on, you just stink of kitchen. You walk into the toilet and then people splash stuff on, like especially for guys, when you pee, it like the splashback ricochet from the toilet. And then if you're wearing pop socks and there's like pee on your ankles. Oh, it's disgusting.
This is pre-COVID though. I'm sure he showers now when it's COVID.
Do you see my ankles here?
Oh, gross.
I'm sure.
Okay, there's piss on there.
That's disgusting. So if you take these ankles, these beautiful legs, and put them onto a clean bed, obviously not clean anymore after I've laid there without having showered, it's disgusting.
I used to shower in the morning and then at night. Yeah.
That's why she smells so fresh.
Yeah, but now we shower as soon as we get home.
Oh, so I just thought of the pee on my ankles, man.
That's gross. Anyways, that's actually quite common.
In Chinese culture, we brush our teeth in the morning, in the evening, we shower in the evening. Chinese people are a bit OCD.
Not really.
Relatively.
No, I think it's just a habit.
Yeah, an OCD habit.
It's not to say that all guys from Australia don't shower at night, okay? I'm sure there are some that shower at night and in the morning. Now, I think she's married now, so she's like, if you can't beat them, join them. Now she only showers in the morning, like her husband or partner.
Pee all over the bed. Disgusting. Again, culturally, it's very weird. So I grew up calling the friends of my father and mother auntie and uncle, whatever. So that's what we did. I called my brother Gogo, which is the term for older brother, and I'm exempt from calling my little brothers Silo because
you're older.
Yeah.
You get the privilege.
I'm second in charge. I remember when I went to play computer games at my friend's house after school. My friend was called Stephen Delecki, and obviously, you know, Mrs. Delecki. To call her auntie, because she's not so familiar to call an auntie, so I thought I'll call her by her surname, Mrs. Delecki. But she thought it's a bit distant, it's a bit too unfamiliar. So to call our English friends, their parents, by their first name, for me, back then, even for now, it's just a massive hurdle I can't cross.
It's kind of traditional that way.
Just like you wouldn't call your mother by her name, as a friend, it's weird for me to call her by her name, because we're the same generation, we're the same peer group. So to jump out of that, to then be all of a sudden very chummy with your mother, it's a bit weird.
My mum had kind of like a mentor boss in Australia, and he was called Bruce. So I was 5 and he was 60 something, so he was like a grandpa to me. And he told me, oh, just call me Bruce. I felt like really weird. My parents were like, no, you can't call him Bruce, that's rude, don't call them by their first name.
What did May and Gordon call him?
They followed what I called him eventually. So we made up a name for him, Bak Bruce.
Which is Uncle Bruce?
Yeah, Uncle Bruce. From then on, my parents called him Bak Bruce as well.
Okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
Sticking auntie and uncle in front of any of these names, it works. And it's not a big deal. For the Chinese born overseas, for those of you who have a hard time thinking, I can't get my head around this, auntie and uncle.
Yeah.
Bruce. As long as you say it respectfully, it doesn't matter.
So if Damon's friends come over to play in the future...
It's Jason.
It's Jason?
All right, Jason, it's okay.
Actually, sometimes their parents tell them to call me Sarah Zeze. I'm like, look guys, honestly, I have 2 kids. You don't have to be like all nice about it. I'm getting old, I'm an auntie. It's like weird if they call me Zeze now, right?
Zeze is like a term for maybe a very, very young mother in her teens.
Even if you're 17, you have 2 kids, you're an auntie.
No.
Yeah.
I reckon you can be, you get away with being called Sarah Zeze as an 18-year-old mother of 1 or a 19-year-old mother of 2.
Interesting.